Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of negative thoughts? Like no matter how hard you try, the sadness, anxiety, or guilt just won't go away. Maybe you've found yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations, overthinking decisions, or beating yourself up over things you can't change. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not powerless. Mind Over Mood by Dennis Greenberger and Christine A. Podesky is more than just a book. It's a workbook designed to help you take back control of your inner world. Rooted in the science of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, it gives you practical tools to untangle the thoughts that shape your emotions and behaviors. Whether you're dealing with depression, anxiety, anger, shame, or guilt, this book shows you how to shift your mindset, and with it, your entire emotional experience. What's one powerful mindset shift that changed your life for the better? Drop it in the comments. Your story could be the reason someone else doesn't give up. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Understanding the Power of Thoughts. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is rooted in a simple yet profound idea. Our thoughts profoundly influence our emotions and behaviors. In the opening chapter of Mind Over Mood, Greenberger and Podesky, both esteemed clinicians with decades of experience, lay the groundwork for this concept. They explain that thoughts are not merely fleeting ideas, but powerful drivers of how we feel and act. Negative automatic thoughts, quick, often subconscious assumptions, can trigger distressing emotions such as sadness, anxiety, or anger, creating cycles that affect our mental and physical health. The authors emphasize that these thoughts are automatic because they arise without deliberate effort, often shaped by past experiences, cultural influences, or ingrained beliefs. For example, someone who receives criticism at work might automatically think, "I'm incompetent," leading to feelings of shame or inadequacy. These thoughts may go unnoticed unless we actively tune into them, yet they wield significant influence over our emotional state. A key insight in this chapter is the interconnectedness of 5 elements: thoughts, moods, behaviors, physical reactions, and environments. The authors use a holistic model to illustrate how these components interact. For instance, a negative thought, "I'll never succeed," can spark a mood, hopelessness, prompt a behavior, withdrawing from challenges, trigger physical reactions, fatigue or tension, and be influenced by the environment, a stressful workplace. This dynamic interplay means that changing one element, such as challenging a negative thought, can create a ripple effect, improving other aspects of our experience. To make this concept tangible, the book introduces a case study of Ben, a man in his 30s who experiences a setback at work. After being passed over for a promotion, Ben thinks, "I'm a failure, and things will never get better." This thought fuels feelings of hopelessness, leading him to isolate himself, experience physical exhaustion, and perceive his workplace as hostile. Through Ben's story, the authors demonstrate how negative thoughts can spiral into broader emotional and behavioral patterns, but also how CBT can interrupt this cycle by targeting the thoughts at its core. To help readers begin their CBT journey, Chapter 1 introduces practical tools for self-awareness. One such tool is the Mood Questionnaire, a structured exercise that prompts readers to identify and rate the intensity of their emotions. For example, a reader might note feeling anxious at an intensity of 80 out of 100. This process helps individuals name their emotions clearly, which is a critical first step in understanding their origins. The authors also encourage readers to start noticing the thoughts associated with these moods. They provide guided questions, such as, "What was going through your mind when you felt this way?" Or, "What does this situation mean to you?" These questions help uncover automatic thoughts that might otherwise remain hidden. For instance, someone feeling anxious before a social event might identify the thought, "Everyone will judge me," as a key driver of their discomfort. The chapter underscores that CBT is a skill that anyone can learn with practice. While negative thoughts may feel overwhelming, they're not fixed or unchangeable. Greenberger and Podesky emphasize that by developing awareness of thoughts and their impact, readers can begin to shift their thinking patterns. This process requires patience and persistence, as automatic thoughts are often deeply ingrained. However, the authors reassure readers that small, consistent efforts can lead to significant improvements in emotional well-being. To reinforce this message, the chapter includes additional examples of individuals from diverse backgrounds who have used CBT to navigate challenges. For instance, a young woman named Maria learns to recognize that her fear of public speaking stems from the thought, "I'll embarrass myself." By identifying this thought, she takes the first step toward addressing her anxiety. These stories highlight the universality of negative automatic thoughts and the accessibility of CBT as a solution. Chapter 1 provides several exercises to help readers internalize its lessons. One exercise involves keeping a daily mood log, where readers record their emotions, rate their intensity, and note any associated thoughts. Another involves reflecting on a recent situation that triggered strong emotions and identifying the thoughts that emerged. These exercises are designed to be simple yet powerful, encouraging readers to engage actively with the material. The authors also introduce the concept of hot thoughts, automatic thoughts that carry the strongest emotional charge. For example, in a situation where someone feels angry after an argument, the hot thought might be, "They don't respect me." By identifying these thoughts, readers can focus their efforts on the most impactful drivers of their emotions. By the end of Chapter 1, readers have a clear understanding of CBT's core principle. Thoughts shape emotions and behaviors, and by changing thoughts, we can change how we feel and act. The chapter sets a hopeful tone, emphasizing that emotional change is possible through structured practice. It also prepares readers for the practical skills introduced in subsequent chapters, such as identifying and challenging automatic thoughts. With its relatable examples, clear explanations, and actionable tools, Chapter 1 serves as a compelling introduction to the transformative potential of mind over mood. Chapter 2, Identifying and Challenging Automatic Thoughts. Chapter 2 dives into the practical core of CBT, identifying and challenging automatic thoughts. While Chapter 1 focused on understanding the role of thoughts, this chapter equips readers with step-by-step strategies to actively manage them. Greenberger and Podesky guide readers through a systematic process that begins with recognizing automatic thoughts and ends with replacing distorted ones with balanced, evidence-based alternatives. This process is the cornerstone of CBT and empowers readers to break free from cycles of emotional distress. Central to this chapter is the Thought Record, a structured worksheet that helps readers analyze their thoughts in a clear, organized way. The Thought Record prompts users to document a specific situation, the emotions they felt, the automatic thoughts that arose, evidence supporting or contradicting those thoughts, and a more balanced perspective. This tool is designed to slow down the automatic thought process, allowing readers to examine their assumptions critically. For example, the authors present the case of Sarah, a woman in her late 20s who feels devastated after making a mistake at work. Her automatic thought is, "I'm a failure." Using a thought record, Sarah records the situation, the mistake, her emotions, shame and sadness, rated at 90 out of 100, and her automatic thought. She then evaluates the evidence. While the mistake was real, she recalls past successes, positive feedback from colleagues, and the fact that everyone makes errors. This leads her to a balanced thought. "I made a mistake, but I'm competent and can learn from this." As a result, her emotional intensity decreases, and she feels more motivated to address the issue. Step-by-step process for challenging thoughts. The authors outline a clear process for using the thought record effectively. 1. Identify the situation. Describe the event or context that triggered the emotion. Be specific about when, where, and what happened. 2. Name the emotion. Label the emotions felt and rate their intensity on a scale of 0 to 100. 3. Spot the automatic thought. Write down the thought that came to mind. Focus on the hot thought that feels most tied to the emotion. 4. Gather evidence. List evidence that supports the thought and evidence that contradicts it. This step encourages objective analysis. 5. Develop a balanced thought. Based on the evidence, create a new thought that is more accurate and less emotionally charged. 6. Re-rate the emotion. After reframing the thought, reassess the emotion's intensity to measure progress. This structured approach ensures that readers engage with their thoughts systematically, avoiding the trap of reacting impulsively to negative assumptions. Common cognitive distortions. To deepen readers' understanding, Chapter 2 introduces the concept of cognitive distortions, patterns of thinking that skew perceptions of reality. Common distortions include all-or-nothing thinking, seeing things in black and white terms, such as, if I'm not perfect, I'm a failure. Catastrophizing, assuming the worst possible outcome, like if I fail this test, my life is ruined. Overgeneralization, drawing broad conclusions from a single event, such as, I always mess things up. Mind reading, assuming others' thoughts without evidence, like they think I'm incompetent. Emotional reasoning, believing feelings reflect reality, such as, I feel worthless, so I must be worthless. By recognizing these distortions, readers can better identify when their thoughts are unhelpful or inaccurate. The authors provide examples to illustrate each distortion, making them relatable and easy to spot in everyday life. The process of challenging automatic thoughts is not about denying negative emotions or forcing positivity. Instead, it's about fostering mental flexibility, the ability to consider alternative perspectives and respond to situations with greater clarity. The authors emphasize that balanced thoughts don't have to be overly positive. They simply need to be realistic and supported by evidence. For instance, instead of replacing, I'm a failure with, I'm amazing, a balanced thought might be, I'm human, and I have strengths and areas to improve. To reinforce this skill, the chapter includes multiple case studies. For example, a man named Tom struggles with anxiety about social events, driven by the thought, people will reject me. Through a thought record, he examines evidence, past positive interactions, neutral feedback, and develops a balanced thought. Some people might like me, and others might not, but I can handle it. This shift reduces his anxiety and encourages him to attend events. Chapter 2 is rich with exercises to help readers practice these skills. In addition to the thought record, the authors provide worksheets for identifying cognitive distortions and tracking progress over time. One exercise involves reviewing a week's worth of thought records to notice patterns in thinking, such as recurring distortions or situations that trigger strong emotions. Another encourages readers to experiment with behavioral tests, where they act against their automatic thoughts, e.g., attending a social event despite fearing rejection, to gather new evidence. The authors also address common challenges, such as difficulty identifying thoughts or feeling overwhelmed by emotions. They offer tips, like writing thoughts as soon as possible after an event or starting with less intense situations to build confidence. These practical suggestions ensure that CBT feels approachable, even for beginners. By the end of Chapter 2, readers gain a powerful set of tools to manage their emotional lives. The process of identifying and challenging automatic thoughts fosters resilience, helping individuals respond to challenges with greater clarity and confidence. The authors emphasize that this skill improves with practice, much like learning a musical instrument or a sport. Over time, Readers can internalize the thought record process, applying it mentally in real-time situations. This chapter also sets the stage for addressing specific emotional challenges, as explored in Chapter 3. By mastering the basics of CBT, readers are better equipped to tackle complex issues like depression or anxiety with targeted strategies. The combination of clear explanations, relatable examples, and hands-on exercises makes Chapter 2 a cornerstone of Mind over Mood's practical approach. Chapter 3. Addressing specific mood disorders. While the first two chapters provide a general framework for CBT, Chapter 3 focuses on applying these principles to specific mood disorders: depression, anxiety, anger, guilt, and shame. Greenberger and Podesky recognize that each emotion presents unique challenges and requires tailored strategies. This chapter offers a wealth of targeted techniques, real-life examples, and innovative exercises to help readers address their specific struggles effectively. For readers grappling with depression, the authors outline strategies to counter feelings of hopelessness, low energy, and negative thinking. One key technique is the use of behavioral activation, which involves scheduling small, manageable activities to break the cycle of withdrawal. For example, a person who feels too depressed to get out of bed might start by setting a goal to take a short walk or call a friend. These actions, however small, can create momentum and improve mood over time. The chapter also introduces gratitude journals as a way to shift focus from negative to positive aspects of life. By writing down 3 things they're grateful for each day, readers can gradually rewire their thinking to notice moments of joy or connection. The authors provide an example of a woman named Lisa, who uses a gratitude journal to combat depressive thoughts like, "Nothing good ever happens." Over weeks, she begins to appreciate small moments, such as a kind word from a coworker or a sunny day, which helps lift her mood. For anxiety, the authors emphasize behavioral experiments, structured activities designed to test anxious predictions. For instance, someone with social anxiety who thinks, "If I speak up, people will laugh at me," might experiment by sharing an opinion in a low-stakes setting. By tracking the outcome, e.g., no one laughed, or the response was neutral, they gather evidence to challenge their fears. The chapter also introduces mindfulness techniques, a newer edition in the second edition, to help readers manage anxious thoughts in the moment. For example, a guided exercise encourages readers to focus on their breath and observe their thoughts without judgment, reducing the intensity of anxiety. A case study of a man named James illustrates this approach. By practicing mindfulness before presentations, he learns to tolerate anxious thoughts like, "I'll mess up," and perform more confidently. For anger, the authors focus on reframing thoughts that fuel resentment or hostility. They encourage readers to identify the hot thoughts behind their anger, such as, "They're disrespecting me," and examine alternative explanations. For example, a person who feels angry after being cut off in traffic might consider that the other driver was distracted rather than malicious. This shift in perspective can reduce anger and promote calmer responses. The chapter also suggests physical and behavioral strategies, such as deep breathing or taking a time out, to manage anger in the moment. A case study of a woman named Priya shows how she uses these techniques to navigate conflicts with her partner, replacing thoughts like "he never listens" with "he's stressed and might need time to process." For guilt and shame, the authors emphasize self-compassion and forgiveness. They guide readers to evaluate whether their guilt is justified, e.g., tied to a specific action, or excessive, e.g., feeling responsible for things outside their control. For justified guilt, readers are encouraged to make amends, such as apologizing or changing behavior. For excessive guilt or shame, they use thought records to challenge thoughts like, "I'm a bad person." A powerful example involved a man named David, who feels shame after losing his job, thinking, "I'm worthless." Through CBT exercises, he learns to separate his worth from his employment status, building a new thought, "I'm valuable, and I can find new opportunities." The authors also introduce acceptance practices, encouraging readers to acknowledge painful emotions without letting them define their identity. The second edition of Mind Over Mood incorporates mindfulness and acceptance-based strategies, reflecting recent advances in CBT. These exercises help readers manage intense emotions by observing them non-judgmentally rather than fighting them. For example, a mindfulness exercise might involve noticing physical sensations of anxiety, e.g., a racing heart, and describing them objectively, which can reduce their overwhelming power. The chapter also includes worksheets tailored to each mood disorder, such as anxiety prediction logs or anger trigger analysis. These tools help readers track their progress and adapt strategies to their unique needs. By combining traditional CBT with newer approaches, Chapter 3 ensures that readers have a comprehensive toolkit for managing their emotions. The authors use diverse case studies to illustrate how individuals apply these strategies in real life. For instance, a teenager with depression learns to challenge thoughts like, "I'm unlovable," by listing evidence of support from friends and family. An older adult with chronic anxiety uses behavioral experiments to test fears about health, gradually reducing worry. These examples make the techniques relatable and demonstrate their effectiveness across age groups and backgrounds. Chapter 3 emphasizes that CBT is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Readers are encouraged to experiment with different techniques and adapt them to their specific challenges. The authors provide guidance on when to seek professional help, such as if symptoms persist or interfere significantly with daily life. They also address common obstacles, like feeling discouraged by slow progress, and offer strategies to stay motivated, such as celebrating small victories. By the end of this chapter, readers have a tailored set of tools to address their emotional struggles. The combination of targeted strategies, practical exercises, and real-world examples makes Chapter 3 a vital resource for applying CBT to specific mood disorders. Chapter 4. Uncovering and Modifying Core Beliefs. While automatic thoughts are the surface-level drivers of emotions, core beliefs are the deeper assumptions that shape them. Chapter 4 explores these foundational beliefs, deeply held views about oneself, others, and the world that underpin emotional patterns. Negative core beliefs, such as, "I'm unlovable," or "the world is dangerous," can perpetuate cycles of distress, influencing how we interpret events and respond emotionally. The authors explain that core beliefs develop over time, often rooted in childhood experiences, cultural messages, or significant life events. For example, someone who grew up with critical parents might develop the belief, "I'm not good enough," which colors their thoughts and emotions as an adult. These beliefs feel like undeniable truths, making them challenging to identify and change. However, the authors assure readers that with structured effort, core beliefs can be modified to support healthier emotional lives. To uncover core beliefs, the authors introduce the downward arrow technique. This involves starting with an automatic thought and asking, "What does this mean about me?" or "Why is this so bad?" repeatedly to dig deeper. For example, a person who thinks, "I failed this project," might follow the downward arrow. "What does this mean about me? I'm incompetent. Why is this so bad? If I'm incompetent, I'll never succeed. What does this mean? I'm worthless." This process reveals the core belief, "I'm worthless," which drives the emotional reaction to the situation. The chapter includes worksheets to guide readers through this process, encouraging them to reflect on multiple situations to identify recurring themes. For instance, someone who feels anxious in social settings, rejected at work, and inadequate in relationships might uncover a common belief: I'm unlovable. Once identified, core beliefs can be tested using evidence-based strategies similar to those for automatic thoughts. The authors encourage readers to gather evidence that supports and contradicts the belief, then develop a new, more balanced belief. For example, a client named Emma believes, I'm unlovable after a breakup. Using a worksheet, she tracks positive interactions, such as compliments from friends or kind gestures from coworkers, which contradict her belief. Over time, she develops a new belief: I am lovable, even if not everyone sees it. The chapter also introduces behavioral experiments to test core beliefs. For instance, someone who believes, I'm incompetent, might take on a new challenge, such as learning a skill, to gather evidence of their capability. These experiments are designed to be gradual, building confidence as readers collect positive experiences. Modifying core beliefs is a transformative process that creates lasting change. Unlike automatic thoughts, which address specific situations, core beliefs influence how we perceive ourselves and the world broadly. By replacing negative beliefs with healthier ones, readers can experience profound shifts in their emotional well-being. For example, a man who shifts from I'm worthless to I have value may feel more confident in relationships, work, and personal goals. The authors provide multiple case studies to illustrate this process. For instance, a woman named Aisha, who believes people can't be trusted, learns to test this belief by observing trustworthy behaviors in others. Over time, she develops a new belief: some people are trustworthy, and I can build safe relationships. This shift reduces her anxiety and improves her social connections. Changing core beliefs is often more challenging than addressing automatic thoughts, as these beliefs are deeply ingrained and tied to identity. The authors acknowledge this difficulty and offer strategies to overcome obstacles. For example, they suggest starting with less central beliefs to build confidence, or seeking support from a therapist for deeply rooted issues. They also emphasize the importance of patience, as modifying core beliefs can take weeks or months. To support this process, the chapter includes additional worksheets, such as core belief logs, to track evidence, and new belief development plans, to outline steps for reinforcing healthier beliefs. These tools provide structure and encouragement, helping readers stay committed to the process. By the end of Chapter 4, readers have the tools to address the root causes of their emotional struggles. The process of uncovering and modifying core beliefs empowers individuals to create lasting change, not just in specific situations, but in their overall outlook on life. This chapter deepens the CBT framework, showing how surface-level thoughts are connected to deeper assumptions, and how both can be transformed. Chapter 5. Sustaining Progress and Embracing Happiness. The final chapter of Mind Over Mood focuses on sustaining the progress made through CBT and fostering long-term emotional health. Greenberger and Podesky emphasize that CBT is not a quick fix, but a set of skills that become more effective with practice. This chapter equips readers with strategies to maintain their gains, navigate setbacks, and cultivate happiness in their daily lives. To sustain progress, the authors encourage readers to set personal goals that align with their values and aspirations. These goals can be specific, such as improving relationships or advancing in a career, or broader, such as increasing overall life satisfaction. The chapter includes worksheets to help readers clarify their goals, break them into manageable steps, and track their progress. For example, a reader named Carlos sets a goal to manage his anxiety in social settings. His steps include practicing thought records, attending one social event per week, and using mindfulness techniques. By tracking his progress, he notices improvements in his confidence and enjoyment, reinforcing his commitment to CBT. To measure emotional growth, the authors introduce happiness rating scales, where readers rate their overall happiness or satisfaction on a scale of 0 to 100 over time. This tool helps individuals see trends in their emotional well-being and identify factors that contribute to positive change. For instance, someone might notice that their happiness increases after practicing gratitude or engaging in meaningful activities. The chapter also encourages readers to celebrate small victories, such as completing a thought record or trying a behavioral experiment. These celebrations reinforce the value of CBT and motivate continued effort. To foster happiness, the authors introduce tools like gratitude journals, acts of kindness, and positive imagery. Gratitude journals, as mentioned in Chapter 3, help readers focus on positive aspects of their lives. Acts of kindness, such as helping a neighbor or volunteering, create a sense of connection and purpose. Positive imagery involves visualizing successful outcomes, such as confidently giving a presentation, to build motivation and reduce anxiety. A case study of a woman named Rachel illustrates these tools. Struggling with low self-esteem, Rachel uses a gratitude journal to note daily positives, performs small acts of kindness, and visualizes herself succeeding in her goals. Over time, these practices shift her focus from self-criticism to self-compassion, enhancing her emotional well-being. The authors acknowledge that setbacks are a normal part of the CBT journey. Rather than viewing setbacks as failures, they encourage readers to see them as opportunities to refine their skills. For example, if someone feels anxious after a period of improvement, they can revisit their thought records or try a new strategy, such as mindfulness. The chapter provides a troubleshooting guide for common setbacks, such as feeling stuck or losing motivation, with practical solutions like breaking tasks into smaller steps or seeking support. Mindfulness, introduced in earlier chapters, plays a key role in sustaining progress. The authors provide advanced mindfulness exercises, such as body scans or loving-kindness meditations, to help readers stay grounded and compassionate toward themselves. Forgiveness, both of oneself and others, is also emphasized as a way to release emotional burdens and move forward. For example, a man named Michael, who struggles with guilt over past mistakes, practices self-forgiveness by writing a letter to himself acknowledging his growth. This exercise helps him let go of shame and focus on his present efforts, reinforcing his CBT progress. Chapter 5 concludes with a vision of emotional resilience and happiness. The authors emphasize that CBT is not just about managing distress, but about creating a life filled with meaning and joy. By integrating goal setting, positivity practices, and resilient strategies, readers can navigate future challenges with confidence. The chapter's practical tools, relatable examples, and encouraging tone inspire readers to continue their CBT journey long after finishing the book. Conclusion. Mind Over Mood is a transformative workbook that makes cognitive behavioral therapy accessible, practical, and empowering. Through its 5 chapters, Greenberger and Podesky guide readers from understanding the power of thoughts to sustaining long-term emotional health. The book's clear explanations, relatable case studies, and over 25 new worksheets in the second edition provide a structured path for addressing emotional challenges, whether depression, anxiety, anger, guilt, or shame. By teaching readers to identify and challenge automatic thoughts, address specific mood disorders, modify core beliefs, and sustain progress, Mind Over Mood offers a comprehensive toolkit for emotional resilience. Its evidence-based approach, grounded in decades of clinical expertise, ensures that readers can trust the strategies they learn. Whether you're seeking to overcome a specific emotional struggle or simply enhance your well-being, this book provides the tools to change how you feel by changing the way you think. With practice, dedication, and the guidance of Mind Over Mood, anyone can build a happier, more confident life.